Well, basically this is sort of a packing that keeps the ladder off the wall of the chimney, so there's room for your boots to go through, you know, on the rungs of the ladder. There's two schools of thought in this. One that, you know, tying them on with string is time consuming and all that, which it is. But the thing is, when it's being pulled up the side of the chimney, you know, by my mate here, and it bangs against something, it only busts the string, you know. Like the other school of thought is have a metal construction that's bolted to the ladder, which when that hits an iron band or something like that, it busts the bloody ladder, you see. String is cheaper than brand new ladders. So, but it does take a bit of time for tie them all on. Yeah, that's the only problem. Right. Now it's going to be just underneath the third rung, so there's room for your boots. They've just got to be just underneath the third rung, so there's room for your boots there. If you tie it on there, it's amazing how it gets in way. You know, it's in the wrong shop because there's no room for your feet. Yeah, basically that piece of wood is just to put there to hold the ladder off the wall. Here we are drilling the first hole in you know, which is there is an hole actually there that's just been pointed up to knock in the first dog, which will be the holdfast at the base of the first ladder, as you might say. Then goes the plugwood, which, as you can see, it doesn't go in very far, you know, but it's quite far enough, you know, it's quite safe. And that's what's termed as a dog. Then I'm going to knock in now, knocking in now. And the next stage is to the piece of rope. It's called a lashing, and it's a piece of rope about 5 foot long with a loop spliced on one end, as you can see. The next stage is to prop up a ladder and climb up it as though you were going up to clean the bedroom window. And then about 5 feet from the top of that ladder, you drill another hole, but in our case the hole's already there. You drill another hole as plumb and straight above the one below as you can get it, and insert another piece of plugwood and another dog. As you get a bit higher up, the holes have a tendency to get a bit deeper. I think it's called fear. Here you see the first ladder is in position, and I'm about to tie it onto the bottom dog, or the bottom holdfast, which you know, that's where the beer belly comes in handy. It's sort of round the hook, round the side of the cheek of the ladder, under the rung, round the hook, round the other cheek of the ladder, round the rung, and then back round the rung below, and a 12-inch on, and that's got it fast. It will not come off. And the thing to do also is use as much of the rope up as you can, because in a gale the ends start to blow about, and the whipping comes off the end of the rope, and then you've got one with like a cat o' nine tails end on it, you know, blowing about in the wind. That is the pulley wheel to pull up the next ladder. Here the next operation is to tie the ladder to the top dog, or the top holdfast that you've just knocked in, without tying it to the haulage rope, you know, because you sometimes, if you're not paying attention or you're trying to talk to somebody who's mithering you on the floor, you end up lapping it round. You see how easy it would be to lap it round the haulage rope. That's it. That is now, the bottom ladder is now firmly fixed and as good as it'll ever be to the wall of the chimney. And the next operation is to climb up to the top of that ladder and sit astride the top iron rung and reach up as far as you can and drill another hole in the brickwork, which of course it's very easy for me here because having done this thing about 7 times before and used exactly the same holes every time, I know exactly how far I'm reaching and where I'm going, and it's quite an easy operation to keep the whole stack of ladders in a very straight line. If you're putting them up and you wander towards one side, when you're putting the staging up at the top and you've got one ladder that's maybe 2 foot gone a bit sideways and say the other one's gone the other way, it looks rather an erratic effort at the top. You know, everything's out of line and out of square. Now we've drilled the hole approximately 5 feet above the top of the bottom ladder and hooked on the pulley wheel. Now this is where the tricky bit comes in. The second ladder is tied on approximately 9 rungs from the top, which is about midway. And of course when it's being pulled up by the labourer or the man down below, we lose more or less half a ladder of a lap, which you'll see the reason for this shortly. The thing is, as that ladder comes up, or the second ladder comes up, on the bottom rung of it, there are 2 lashings, one of which I'm using now to tie the bottom rung to the nearest corresponding rung of the ladder that's stuck to the wall. I've got the other lashing round my neck, and the 2 steeplejack hooks which have come up with it are stuck in my belt. Now, that's a secondary sort of safety precaution, the one with just a clovitch round the side, just in case that hook there that I've got my hand on, or the one that the pulley's on, if that happened to come out, I'd still be in with a chance. You know, the ladder would still be connected with 2 hooks to the bottom one. As you can see, it's slightly precarious there how it shakes about, but once you've lashed it to that top hook, which is 5 foot above the bottom ladder, you've only got about 6 rungs above that are standing in free space, or what you might call unconnected to the chimney. It is now possible to unhook the pulley wheel and carry it up the back side of the ladder and hook it on the top iron rung, while you use one of the dogs that's stuck in your belt to, you know, get another purchase 5 foot higher up still, you see. And once you've drilled that hole and put the dog in, you can lift up the pulley wheel onto the dog, which of course one end of the rope is still attached to the ladder that you were sat on. And then you'll see in a minute where when I come down and untie that ladder, my man at the bottom pulls and up goes the whole 21 pins of the ladder onto the top of the bottom ladder, which sounds unbelievably complicated, but it is quite a simple operation really. In fact, it's so simple you can do on a good chimney on a good day where it isn't windy and you don't manage to thump the hell out your hand with the hammer. Like, you know, I mean, if you miss with the hammer, it's rather painful. There goes the pulley wheel down the ladder. Untie the lashing at the top that's holding the top of the ladder. Now it all comes loose and flops about in the wind. That's the dodgy bit when it's very windy and you're 3/4 of the way up and the wind's trying to snap the ladder off sideways. It's quite exciting. And there's the secondary lashing on the side, and then finally the one at the bottom. When you've released it at the bottom, it's at the mercy of the man on the floor and the wind. Sometimes it's rather awkward when it's very windy and the ladders start twisting round the rope, you know, that's pulling the thing up. Now it's now in the right position for fixing onto the sockets at the bottom, and of course you see how close to the top of you know, it's being held against the wall by the man on the floor. Very important that the man on the floor is you've got his whole concentration all the time, you know. That's why it's better using an older man than a younger man who has a tendency to wander off looking at ladies' skirts and things like that. Because if he disappears, you fall off. That's the setting ladder up, and that's what it's all about. Well, almost up. This method of laddering factory chimneys is quite a recent sort of invention, you know, like 1870s period. A bit before then, they actually flew kites to get string across the tops of chimneys, you know, a right weird situation. I think when they were, you know, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, when they started to erect chimney stacks, nobody gave it a great deal of thought as to how they were going to get up there to repair the things, because of course they were all built from the inside, more or less right from the beginning of building fairly large ones to building the really monstrous things that there are today at power stations. Like the early ones, you know, 1820s, were only like 60 and 50 feet high, and of course, you know, they could build them with a conventional scaffold round the outside, because they were of no great girth, you know. To circumnavigate the wall of that chimney, which might be 60 odd feet circumference with scaffolding, is going to cost a heck of a lot of money, you know. That's why I think steeplejacks have still got still earn a crust of bread, you know. It is one of the good and reliable ways of getting up there, you know. Basically, having got the second ladder up, you've more or less conquered it in a way, how you actually do the job. The thing is, you just keep repeating the process, 9 rungs from the top, 2 lashings on the bottom and 2 dogs, and up it comes, and all as you're up there with is your hammer, your chisel, the plug wood, and the end of the pulley wheel and the rope. The important thing not to do is let the rope run through the block and go tumbling down, which means that you've got to come down and get the end of the rope and carry the thing up, which 200 foot of hemp rope is fairly heavy, and by the time you've got back to the top with it, you're getting a bit out of breath. The other thing is, the higher up you get and the harder it gets, you know, because of course the guy at the bottom has got to pull the ladder up further, and you've got to send the end of the rope down further. And also the progression towards the top as you get higher it slows down a bit. This basically is an inspection to give a quote for any forthcoming repairs that need sorting out. Over the years, the first job I ever did were above the collar, the 10 feet of brickwork above the collar. I put some new iron bands round and pointed it all, and a new lightning conductor on. Then on subsequent visits, I pointed all the panel work round the top 30 feet. And now from the sailing course below that to below the green and white banded area of tile bricks, it's badly in need of pointing, so I'm going to give them an estimate to do that. That's a bit of old-time Steeplejack's plug wood, you know. Them who knock that in there will be dead and gone, without a doubt. Quite rotten, you know. these patches I pointed up, they were some very poor quality steeplejacks damaged the brickwork, you know, didn't know how to work an hammer and chisel. It's always policy to leave the ladders there until you've come to the financial arrangement with the management about whether they're going to have it done or not, which saves you having to put the ladders up again. The thing is that having secured the contract, if we're going to do it, we've then got to put what's termed as a staging round the top. Hear it how it's addled hollow, you know. It's a shame, really. Getting near the top, it's always like that, you know. I think this time a few iron bands might be called for, you know, to screw it together a bit. A bit of me pointing come out up there on them big copings. Can you see it? 6 inches off the lightning conductor. Not bad that though, it's a long time since I did it. Some of them are loose. it's a trifle huddled around that area. I don't think the full 9-inch headers, they're only halves, you know. Well, an header is a brick on end, like that should be. But I don't think it is. They wouldn't sound as hollow if it were a full 9-inch brick going in. It's only half of one, I think. I'm only surmising. These are my dog holes that support my scaffold when I'm putting the scaffolding up. When you sat on top of there like king of the castle, the view used to be quite interesting in this area. There were numerous collieries, the last of which disappeared a few months ago, and lots of mill chimneys, and I think you can see about 4 left now out of all of them, out of dozens and dozens. Not very far away there's the parish church of Atherton, which has got a distinct list on it through the mining subsidence. Well, that's it now. We've nearly conquered it. The north face of the Eiger.